Hey everybody, welcome back to In Bed with a Millennial. I'm the Millennial Javeda Bay, and this is my bed, and it is still Black History Month. And I know you were like, Javeda, I was expecting more Valentine's Day romance content. Fooled you. We're talking about sex, sexuality, and Black folks because it's Black History Month, and I'm a sex educator, a Black sex educator. So I'm gonna do it because I want to. So today I want to talk about the sexualization of Black bodies because we need to. So let's get into it. All right, let's start off with the basics. What is sexualization? Sexualization is basically when you make something sexual, whether it is inherently sexual or not. That is you actively choosing to view something as sexual. So when it comes to the sexualization of Black bodies, that's just seeing a Black body and being like, oh, sex things. Like immediately your mind going to sex related things, and just like reducing someone and their body and their being to just sex and sexuality, and no other facets components, which we know is not the case because all people are super complex, and that includes Black people. All right, Jave, okay, I know what sexualization is now, but like, why does this matter? Why are we having this conversation? For a lot of reasons. The first, because the historical like background of the sexualization of Black folks has been so compounded through the years, through time, that the historical roots justify so much of the horrible stuff that happens in our present day that people are just like, yeah, okay, whatever. You're like, no. Also, because sexualization of Black bodies impacts our biases and beliefs and so much of the way we view and interact with people, which impacts the way that we perpetuate and believe in stereotypes around specific people, especially Black folks, Black men, women, non-binary folks, trans folks, all that jazz. The sexualization plays into how you were thinking about them. And even if you don't think that you got any biases, we all have biases, and sexualization is probably impacting those. Okay, Jabay, yeah, sure, whatever. But like, I need some examples because I don't even know any ways that like Black folks' bodies are sexualized, at least like stereotypes and things of that nature. I bet you do though. Have you ever heard of the mammy stereotype trope of Black women, or the Jezebel, or in the case of Black men, like the Black bull? Also like the video vixen, all examples of Black sexualization, and stereotypes and sexual tropes. And so if you don't know, the mammy stereotype trope is essentially like a desexualizing trope. It essentially sees like the mammy, the Black woman, as like being not sexual but being like the caregiver. So that one, it doesn't sexualize the Black body, it desexualizes the Black body, so it takes away any notion that that being could be a sexual being. So like that's one. The Jezebel, which is like the most common one when in terms of like Black women, is the one that like Black women are just like super promiscuous and all they want to do is like have sex and like tempt men and like be home wreckers and things of that nature. Which not the case. I can tell you, this Black woman right here, I got too many goals, bro. What you mean? I ain't got time to be out here trying to tempt people. Just kidding. I tempt plenty of people, but like that's not the point. But the Jezebel is a very common trope, and it also kind of aligns with like the video vixen trope, which really was like popular like in like the late 90s, early 2000s. When like music videos really became like a thing. And Black music videos really like had Black women in them that like very much fit like a very specific way of like looking at it. It was like Black girls like barely anything on, just like twerking, shaking that ass in music videos, which like there it's tricky trying to talk about it because like there's like lines, like in some senses it's like somebody actively chose to make this decision for themselves. Other times it was like, this is a stereotype that we're going to lean into, and sexualize this Black woman to be in this video for XYZ reasons, but it's not the reasons that it needs to be, like, at all. And then the last one being the trope of the bull. And so this is essentially the idea that like all Black men are like sexually ravenous and they're just like super aggressive sexually and they're always going to take what they want, and like you got to protect people from them because they're just going to like try and have sex with everybody. So like, do you see why these tropes and these stereotypes are harmful? Like, are you seeing it? No? Let me give you more. If you would like to dig even deeper though into like Black stereotypes, and like the negative harms that they have, there's a great article that I am linking in the description. Please go check it out. It's by Laura Green. Read it. Okay, so like, why does it matter about these stereotypes and sexualization and the tropes and things of that nature? Well, one is going to be the negative repercussions. There are so many negative ramifications from stereotyping and sexualizing Black bodies. The first one being like, if you're looking at it for Black men specifically, this notion of like Black men as like the bull and like the sexual aggressor, essentially like paints Black men as always being like harmful in sexual situations, which really gets like complicated when we're talking about like situations of like sexual assault. If you watched my video a while back where I was talking about like going back to school and like drinking and having sex in college and things of that nature, I made like a mention of how like in situations like if it's ever a case of like people drinking yada yada yada, men, but most specifically Black men, are always going to be seen as the person that committed a crime, caused harm, regardless of how everybody else played out in the situation, because of the trope of the bull and like Black men being these sexual aggressors. So you see how harmful these tropes are? It kind of just like already jumps over like, let's actually do like the fact finding and figure out what happened in situations and go straight to, oh yeah, you had to have been the one that committed this crime. Or in the sense of like just like assumptions made, like, oh well, this person said that like a Black man like groped them, and like this happened to be a Black man walking past the crime scene, so it must have been this Black man. You see what I'm getting at? How these stereotypes just allow people to think these things and like be like, oh, this must be the thing because like obviously this thing about Black men is true, so duh. Harmful. Also, these stereotypes perpetuate racist ideologies. As I said, they have historical roots from slavery. And so that means that all these ideas are really deeply rooted in racism. The idea of like Black men being aggressors, it was like how they justified like keeping Black men away from like white women and like, you know, all these other types of things because they're like, they will try it and like have sex with our wives and our daughters. We got to keep them away because that's their nature. And then like the one of the Jezebel as a justification for raping Black enslaved women, because like she's a Jezebel. She obviously wants to have sex. That's what they do. They're just always wanting sex. They're promiscuous. And so in further believing and like enforcing or like perpetuating these stereotypes, you're perpetuating racist ideologies. And I think we all know, especially on this page, especially this month, we're not here for racism. No, not at all. So stop. And just as it was historically during slavery, it is used as justification when harm is caused. Like if there is a situation where a Black woman is sexually assaulted or harmed, like, oh, well, you know, she was like asking for it. Like she's a Black woman, like, you know, they're just like all kinds of like promiscuous and slutty. Yeah, it is very commonly like can be used as an excuse as to why bad things happen and like why it's like, it's not that big a deal. It is that big a deal and it's not okay. And then lastly, a really big reason of the harm and negative ramifications of these Black sexualized stereotypes and tropes is that it erases real identities and lived experiences. And a great example of this is actually within a book. It was written by Sharonda Brown and it's called Refusing Compulsory Sexuality. And a portion of it actually talks about how the sexualization of the Black body has led to like disbelief in Black folks having different sexual orientations and identities. In this case, asexuality in the case of the book. Like the idea that like Black folks can't be asexual because Black folks are always like sexual and like they want sex. The sexualization of Black bodies. So, and the more we like perpetuate these stereotypes and act like they're real and like sexualize Black bodies, the more we're actually making it harder for people to truly exist and be their authentic selves in terms of their actual identities, because we have these notions in our head that we're just like, oh, that you could never be asexual. You're a Black woman. Like you love sex. No. Also, like we're gonna dig into compulsory sexuality next month, so like get ready for that. But like the answer, no, not true. But you should definitely check out that book. It is a really great read, and if you like if you've been curious about like asexuality and wanting to learn more, that book right there. And then a very last reason of one of the major harms of the sexualization of Black bodies and the stereotypes that come with it is the adultification of Black youth, specifically Black girls, in terms of adultifying them to the point like, oh, you're being fast, you're like such a little hoe, like all those things that are put on young Black girls. When they aren't actually doing anything different from like their white counterparts. They're just existing as girls, and society deems them as being more sexual because society is sexualizing them. So we gotta stop with that. We really gotta stop that. And don't worry, later this month I got a whole nother video going real deep into that conversation because I got feels. As someone that was definitely adultified growing up, like I got some real feels about it. And then also another harm is that it like essentially kind of says that like fetishizing Black folks is okay. And but like no, fetishizing anybody is never okay. But by giving in or believing in these stereotypes and tropes around Black sexuality and Black bodies, you're really just like, oh yeah, I can, like, yeah, I'm gonna like totally be attracted to them for these reasons that are specifically just stereotypes and tropes and not the actual person that I'm interacting with. All right, Javay, okay, you really like dropped some knowledge on me. I was not aware of these things. But like, what should I do? Like, how do I like do something different so I'm not just perpetuating these stereotypes and tropes? I am glad you asked. First thing is I want you to really question things. Like, we as a society have a tendency to just like hear things and take it and run with it. But when you hear things, like question it, like, oh, this radio personality said this thing about Black women on the radio. Is that like really real? Like really sit with it and like wonder, like, are they just like perpetuating like not real stuff, like harmful things? Like sit with those things, question it. Don't just take everything at face value, especially in this day and age of like the podcast bros. We already know their podcasts are BS, but like really like question, like, okay, they're saying this stuff, but like this stuff is like harmful. Like really think about it, listen to things, think critically, and then speak up. Like especially if you were like with your friends and you hear them stuff, like if you are out with the girls and y'all are at brunch and you see a Black man walk by and one of your friends is like, oh, he probably like lays down the pipe, be like, you don't know nothing about that man. First of all, stop sexualizing him. Second of all, check yourself because that is super racist and like really like rooted in some not okay things. So like speak up and stop stuff when it happens. Because if you don't, then it just continues to go and it's a cycle and here we are. Also, be conscious of yourself, especially if you are someone that engages in relationships or sexual activity with Black folk. Really take stock in yourself and like check yourself. Like, are you on Grindr or Tinder or Bumble swiping, specifically looking for Black folks for like fetishized, sexualized reasons? I'm gonna need you to like really do some reflection, some self introspection on that one. But like, yeah, check yourself, make sure you're not doing these things. And if you are, now you know and you can do better. That's the important thing here. Like, how many people have ever had real conversations where you learned about sexualizing others? Very few. So like, if you realize, oh, I've been doing these things, take note, check yourself, and like stop. But yeah, as I said, sexualization of Black bodies is like deeply rooted in slavery and colonialism and white supremacy. So we don't want to keep perpetuating it because it is a harmful thing to do. It has really negative repercussions. And we are trying to break down these systems, not continuously like let them thrive. So do your part. But yeah. It's a lot. I know it's a lot. But it is real. And this Black History Month, I really want you to take stock in if and how you are sexualizing Black bodies. Because no. But next few episodes this month are obviously focusing on Black folks, Black history, and sexuality. And I'm excited because next week we are talking about the effects of sexualizing Black women and how that impacts like actual Black women's sexuality. So like, get ready. But if you are not subscribed to this YouTube channel, you better be subscribed. Again, it's Black History Month. If you don't do it, Make sure you are following me on all the social media platforms: Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere you can find me. You better be following me. And make sure you subscribe to my email newsletter, because that's where the goods are. And if you're like, yo, Jave, I love you. I just love you. I want to be able to learn from you more. Register for my workshop. I'm teaching a workshop February 23rd. It is all about the hands. It's about digital and manual stimulation skills. So if you want to be better at fingering, fisting, or hand jobs, that's where you want to be, baby. So yeah, make sure you register for that. Go to my website. But yeah, until next time, I'm gonna see you later. Deuces.